Okay, so get ready for today's deep dive. We're tackling a pretty heavy topic. Imagine running from danger, fleeing your home, desperate for safety, and then ending up shipped off to some completely different country, thousands of miles away. Sadly, this is becoming more and more common for asylum seekers, especially as the EU is looking into this whole offshoring asylum processing. To try to make sense of all this, we've got three sources to dig into. There's an article from Euractiv. That one really lays out the EU's plan. We also have a joint statement. This is from Amnesty International and a bunch of other NGOs. And they're basically raising the alarm about what all this means for human rights. And finally, we've got a piece from the National. They're taking a close look at the places where they might actually send these asylum seekers.
Yeah, it's definitely a complicated situation, and the stakes are incredibly high. It's already stirring up a lot of controversy. One thing that's really interesting is how the EU is trying to distance itself from that whole Rwanda plan that the UK came up with, but they still want to achieve the same outcome.
Yeah, it's like they want to have their cake and eat it too.
Oh, yeah.
You're right, the UK plan got slammed with tons of criticism, not to mention the legal challenges. It's all because they're sending asylum seekers to Rwanda, with absolutely no regard for whether they have any connection to the country at all. So if the EU is trying to be different, how different is their approach, really?
Well, at first glance, they're all about emphasizing this link idea. Like, there has to be some connection between the asylum seeker and the country they might get sent to. But that just opens up a whole can of worms.
Oh, I can see that already. Like, what kind of link are we even talking about? Family in that country, cultural ties. And who gets to decide what counts as a strong enough link?
Exactly. It's all so vague.
Sounds like it could be just as messy as the UK's approach. Maybe even worse, because it's so open to interpretation.
Yeah, a lot of critics are worried about that. They're saying it'll just lead to more random decisions and potentially discriminate against certain groups of asylum seekers. It's not just a theory either. The Euractiv article mentions that Italy's already made a deal with Albania. They're going to start transferring asylum seekers to detention centers over there.
Wow, so they're not wasting any time putting this into action. What's that going to look like actually happening?
So Italy is going to be footing the bill. They'll be managing these centers in Albania. But here's the catch. They'll still be the ones handling the asylum claims, all under Italian law. It's a model that Ursula von der Leyen, the European Commission president, she actually called it innovative, maybe even a blueprint for other EU countries.
Innovative? Huh. That's certainly one way to put it. I guess I can see why some folks might think it's a practical solution, but it also feels like they're trying to dodge responsibility. And what about the conditions in these centers? That's where the Amnesty International statement is really alarming.
Oh, absolutely. They're drawing some pretty scary comparisons to Australia's offshore detention system. The one that's been widely condemned for human rights abuses?
Yeah, it's not a good sign.
They're talking about things like people being detained for long periods, having their freedom of movement restricted, and a very real risk of abuses, like inhumane treatment and families being separated.
It's like they're trying to sweep these asylum seekers under the rug, keep them out of sight, out of mind. Does the Amnesty statement say anything about how this offshore approach